This week on The Bold and the Beautiful, Taylor Hayes finds herself spiraling into a pit of anguish the moment she realizes that Ridge Forrester's heart still beats only for Brooke Logan. The news of Nick Marone's return to Los Angeles, portrayed by Jack Wagner in all his charismatic glory, strikes Taylor like a physical blow. All of the careful progress she thought she and Ridge had made dissolves in an instant when Ridge's lingering glances toward Brooke betray the renewed spark between his old flame and his estranged wife. Taylor, well acquainted with the sharp sting of betrayal, knows too well that Ridge's jealousy is an unpredictable beast. The last thing she wants is to witness her husband risk everything for Brooke once again, to see him go to war with Nick Marone over a woman who has never truly forgotten him. Her mind races with the worst possible scenarios: Ridge confronting Nick in a fit of rage, Taylor caught in the crossfire, hearts and reputations shredded beyond repair. And as if the universe were reading from her darkest fears, Taylor's own heart begins to falter. Whether through the sheer emotional strain or through the manipulations of her mother, a widow of her own storms, she now considers feigning a terrifying relapse of her old heart condition. If Steffi's mother can manufacture a heart attack to rally the Forresters to her side, Taylor reasons, then surely she can orchestrate a medical crisis that will remind Ridge of his vows and his duty. A sudden clutch at her chest, a gasp for breath, the dramatic collapse into Ridge's arms. Any of these could serve as the ultimate proof of her fragility and his loyalty. But deep down, Taylor fears that if the ailment is genuine, then Ridge's jealousy-fueled confrontation with Nick may push her over the edge for real, condemning her to a hospital bed and leaving Ridge free to side with Brooke in her moment of true vulnerability. For Taylor, each beat of her heart now carries the weight of an ultimatum: prove your love beyond shadow of doubt, Ridge, or lose me forever. Meanwhile, the irony of Ridge's emotional upheaval is not lost on Brooke Logan, who for months begged Ridge to let go of Taylor and choose her side once and for all. Brooke, always the optimist in matters of love, believed that if Ridge could simply see the depth of her devotion, he would abandon Taylor for good. But now, with the tables turned and Ridge's affections once more gravitating toward Brooke, it seems he may have arrived at this realization far too late. Brooke knows in her bones that Ridge's heart is a labyrinth of old loyalties and deep-seated regrets, and no amount of passionate pleading would have guaranteed him choosing her when Taylor still lingered in the wings. With Nick Marone back in the picture, offering steady companionship and a history unmarred by the storms of past betrayals, Brooke faces a crossroads. Should she risk reigniting her turbulent love with Ridge, knowing full well that his heart might simply circle back to Taylor yet again, or accept that Nick, ever faithful, ever understanding, may now be the safer harbor for her wounded heart? Watching Ridge's pained expressions every time news of Nick's presence filters through Forrester Creations, Brooke realizes that Ridge may soon approach her again, but this time she may not be the one reaching out. On the fringes of this unfolding drama stands Steffi Forrester, Ridge's daughter and Taylor's stepdaughter, who has already seen the devastation that jealousy and rivalry can wreak upon love. Steffi, protective of her father and wary of Taylor's emotional volatility, has warned Ridge in no uncertain terms that his flirtation with Brooke and Nick's return could drive Taylor into a genuine medical crisis, or at least push her to dangerous extremes to keep him at her side. She has pleaded with Ridge to consider Taylor's well-being over the treacherous allure of rekindled passion with Brooke, reminding him that the last thing he needs is to watch his wife collapse into his arms, whether in genuine distress or a staged performance, only to realize that he has once again prioritized desire over devotion. Steffi's ultimatum is clear: preserve Taylor's fragile health, whether through honest love or the pretense of illness. Or watch the woman you vowed to protect slip away entirely. As Ridge grapples with this Herculean decision, the Forrester family holds its collective breath. Taylor's pain, Brooke's hesitation, Nick's readiness to fight for what he believes is rightfully his, and Steffi's fiercely protective warnings combine into a storm of emotion that threatens to consume every life it touches. In Los Angeles, where love is an ever-shifting currency and hearts can be bought, sold, or stolen in the blink of an eye, this week's chapters promise nothing less than catastrophe or triumph on an epic scale. And the only certainty is that once these reckoning fires are lit, there will be no easy way to douse them. Who will stand amid the ashes of broken promises, and who will emerge victorious when the smoke finally clears? Only time. And the beating hearts of those entwined in this dangerous dance will tell. Tuesday's explosive revelations on the bold and the beautiful set the stage for a week of heart-twisting drama and unexpected alliances. As Ridge Forrester and Taylor Hayes prepare to seal their renewed commitment in an engagement that will send shockwaves through the fashion world and everyone they've ever loved or scorned. At the picturesque Il Giardino, beneath a canopy of wisteria and against the hushed murmur of a summer breeze, Taylor dropped to one knee, her voice barely more than a whisper as Ridge absorbed the enormity of her proposal. For a moment, his gaze flickered with hesitation, not because his love for her wavered, but because the scars of their past, the betrayals and misunderstandings, still lay raw beneath his tailored jackets. But as Taylor reached out, her hand trembling with hope and devotion, Ridge found himself transported back to the very first time he'd fallen for her quiet strength and unwavering kindness. The guests in attendance, friends, family, and industry insiders held their breath as Ridge finally nodded, a slow, deliberate motion that spoke of hard-won forgiveness and a future rebuilt on trust. Their kiss, tender at first, deepened into a promise that neither storm nor scandal would derail this time around. Taylor's eyes brimmed with tears as she exclaimed she couldn't wait to walk down the aisle again, the words tumbling from her lips in a rush of exhilaration. And high above the Italian night sky, one had to wonder, when will they set the date that cements their destiny forever? Meanwhile, hidden in the shadows of Il Giardino's olive grove, a familiar figure looked on through binoculars. Nick Marone returned to Los Angeles with all the simmering resentment and unresolved passion he'd harbored for Brooke Logan. As Taylor and Ridge embraced, Nick's jaw clenched, a storm of envy and longing flickering across his features. He'd always believed Brooke and he were destined to be together, that their shared history and the fire between them could withstand any obstacle. But seeing Ridge's reluctant joy ignited something in him, an urgent need to claim what he believed was rightfully his. Unbeknownst to Ridge and Taylor, Nick recorded the entire proposal on his phone, heart pounding as he saw Brooke's name flash across his mind screen. By the weekend, he would make his move, delivering the news of Ridge's engagement to Brooke himself, hoping that jealousy might reignite old embers and steer her back into his arms. Back in Los Angeles, Brooke Logan found herself at a crossroads, torn between the comfort of familiarity and the thrilling uncertainty of a fresh start. On Monday, she and Katie Logan sat in Katie's sunlit office at Forrester Creations, the two sisters poring over coffee mugs and half-smiled recollections of the past. Brooke confessed that watching Ridge grow distant as Nick's arrival stirred a potent cocktail of jealousy and regret had reignited a spark she thought flickered out long ago. Katie listened intently, offering the kind of tough love only a sister could deliver, questioning whether clinging to Ridge's unpredictable affections was worth the endless cycle of heartbreak. Should she take a risk with Nick, whose loyalty to her had never truly wavered? Or was her heart irrevocably bound to Ridge, despite his worst flaws? Katie's advice was pointed. Brooke needed to decide whether to keep chasing a man who sometimes seemed more in love with his own reflection than with her, or to embrace the possibility of a future with someone who would fight for her on steady ground. The air between them crackled with unspoken fears, divorce, betrayal, the possibility of choosing wrong and watching another marriage crumble. Yet the decision rested entirely on Brooke, and Katie left her with a single question. Was Brooke willing to let go of Ridge and move on, or would she circle back once again to the man who'd always been both her greatest love and her harshest lesson? Not far from the Logan sisters' introspection, a very different drama unfolded in the heart of Los Angeles' Arts District, where Luna Nozawa's chic loft transformed into the setting for a rendezvous charged with both anticipation and danger. Will Spencer, tethered by a thin tracking device. An invention born from Steffi Forrester's insistence on keeping her cousin's rebellious streak in check, arrived at Luna's door under the cloak of night. His mission was simple on paper, a quiet visit, a chance to deepen their bond after weeks of flirtatious texting and stolen smiles. But as he stepped into the soft glow of Luna's living room, he had no idea that the shadows held more than just the promise of romance. Inside, Luna had barely finished recounting Sheila Carter's sudden and unnerving appearance on her doorstep, a moment that sent her heart pounding with equal parts dread and fascination, when her phone buzzed with Will's message, "On my way." She laughed, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear, excitement lighting her features. But excitement was a dangerous spark when mixed with fear, and Luna's laughter faltered as she sensed the weight of history she'd inherited the moment she let Sheila into her life. Outside, hidden on a balcony overlooking Luna's apartment, Steffi and John Finnegan peered through binoculars at Will as he crossed the threshold. Steffi's jaw tightened as she remembered all the damage Sheila had wrought, twisted identities, broken families, stolen children. And Electra's presence only amplified her anxiety. Electra Forrester, Will's current girlfriend and a woman who had proven her mettle in more ways than one, stood beside them, her pale cheeks flushed with protective fury. But when Electra heard Will greet Luna with that easy, affectionate tone, her heart clenched. Worse still was the moment Will admitted that Luna was fun, exciting, while Electra herself sometimes felt overshadowed by the specter of Sheila's legacy. A gasp escaped Electra's lips, lost in the hum of the city below. She covered her eyes as Will moved closer to Luna, the two enveloped in a bubble of flirtation that no longer seemed harmless. And then, like a dagger through the heart, Will leaned in and kissed Luna, a kiss that spoke not of love but of reckless abandonment, a reckless fling that threatened to shatter the fragile trust Electra had built. On the balcony, Steffi's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide in horror. John's grip on her elbow was firm but gentle, as if to anchor her to reality. They watched as Luna's surprised smile melted into astonishment, her hand resting on Will's cheek as if to taste the moment for real. Below, the tracking device hummed softly, its location pinging back to Steffi's phone, a cruel reminder of why she'd insisted on it in the first place. As Will and Luna's silhouettes blurred together, the question on everyone's lips was simple. What would Sheila make of this betrayal, and how far would she go to reclaim her hold on Luna's life? In the midst of broken hearts and budding engagements, the bold and the beautiful reminded us that in Los Angeles, love is never simple, loyalty can turn on a dime, and every kiss carries the weight of history. Ridge and Taylor's engagement may have promised a chapter of peace, but with Nick's jealousy brewing, Brooke's heart in turmoil, and Will's indiscretion playing out under the watchful eyes of Steffi, Finn, and Electra, peace feels more like a mirage than a certainty. As Taylor dreams of an isle once more, Ridge grapples with the ghosts of his past, Brooke wrestles with the crossroad before her, and Luna braces for the fallout of a kiss that set more than one heart aflame. Fans can only wonder. Who will emerge unscathed, and who will be left picking up the pieces when the sparks of passion ignite the powder keg of betrayal? The only certainty is that when the bold and the beautiful returns next week, nothing will ever be the same.